Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. That wasn't my toy. No, that... Jonas Taylor is back to lead a research team on an exploratory dive into the deepest depths of the ocean. However, their voyage spirals into chaos when a malevolent mining operation threatens their mission and forces them into a high-stakes battle for survival, pitted against colossal prehistoric sharks and relentless sea creatures. This is my raw reaction review of The Meg 2, The Trench. That's right, folks. It is now August, the final month of the summer, and, this is when things tend to kind of wind down a little bit at the box office. You don't really have your big tent poles anymore. Obviously, for this year, we're now past the Barbenheimer thingamabob, which is probably the biggest movie weekend of the year, I believe. So, I think things are going to kind of level out a little bit, but hey, we got a couple more surprises for us. We got a cool vampire movie on the horizon, and of course The Meg 2, which is something we were definitely looking forward to. Unfortunately, Luke could not make it out to this one. A dad's got a dad, and we had some scheduling conflicts, but do not worry, I am here to report, since I am the resident shark film expert on the channel. And what did I think of The Meg 2? Well, first things first, I kind of want to dive into The Meg, which is something that I don't think we've really talked about a ton. We may have mentioned it on the Sunday Scaries, but just because we haven't had a review or any kind of podcast on this film, I want to get it out there, just my thoughts and feelings, because I feel like it's kind of important before I dive into how I felt about this new flick. So The Meg graced our screens in 2018, and, overall, it was a pretty successful film, I gotta say. It actually surprised a lot of people by being number one at the box office, and I think it raked in close to $500 million. So, that's a pretty big payday. And I know they were talking about doing a sequel pretty much right after the Meg's opening weekend. It was all talked about. Again, this is based off of a book series, very limitedly or loosely based off of a book series. These movies are wildly different than anything I understand about the books. But, nonetheless, it was a pretty cool concept, I thought. We got a big megalodon shark coming up, big budget, throwing it up on the big screen. I'm used to seeing these as sci-fi original films or something the Asylum would put out. So I was very curious to see where this would go. Now, I gotta be honest, megalodons are not really my favorite. I love shark films. I just feel like a megalodon, you kind of lose a lot of that real viscera and that gore that you get from an actual bigger shark film. Just because it's the fact that it can just swallow you whole. It's a little bit of one of those things where it kind of, for me, it being a sick bastard and wanting to see sharks rip people apart, you don't really get that with megalodon films normally. But this film, surprisingly did do a pretty good job with showing some of the viscera, some of the gore. They did have a lot of animal violence where he's eating whales and things like that. And of course, we got Jason Statham in there and a few other great actors. It's one of those things where this movie, it didn't have a very high bar for me. And did it reach the level that I wanted it to? I think initially when I saw it, I was hoping for something a tad bit more serious than we got. But by the end of the film, I could not deny that I had a blast with it. Again, it's so rare that we get a big bombastic shark film on the big screen. And so to have this and to have it be as fun as it was, again, maybe a little too hard into the comedy than I was initially hoping for. But overall, I was just yeah, this is cool. Jason Statham, I really enjoy him. I think he's quite a great actor, especially in action flicks. So it's one of those things where I basically resigned myself to being I think The Meg is cool. And then I picked it up on 4K, and I've watched it a subsequent number of times since then, and I've just really grown fond of the film. It's not something that I would go out and say is the next great shark film. It's not a Jaws or a Jaws 2. It's one of those things where I'm just like, this is cool. This is fun to watch. As a horror fan, it doesn't really scratch that itch too deep, but as an action shark film fan, it's pretty good. And, I was pretty happy with it. And I still think that it's worth a watch. So then that brings us to the Meg 2. And, I went into this pretty optimistic. We enjoyed the trailer. We reviewed it on the channel. And, it doesn't take a lot to impress me with big bombastic shark films. Like I said, I knew what I was getting myself into. The trailer seemed to strike a very similar tone. Maybe it would be a little bit darker in this one, but for the most part, if I saw the first film, I knew exactly what I was getting into here. And then that damn Rotten Tomatoes score came out, and it was like 6 reviewers, 0%. Everybody lost their goddamn mind on social media, and it's just like, guys, what did you expect? Like, these people aren't going to like this. Everybody is going to go in there, and they're going to expect this auteur-driven shark film, because that's like, nobody can have any fun at the movies anymore. Okay? No, nobody. That's just my thoughts and opinions. I think people bitch too much. But, at the end of the day, I'm here. I saw the film. And what did I think of it? I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I didn't love it, though. And I think that that's going to be a big problem, especially for the continuation of this series. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit here. But on initial thoughts, I did have a good time. I thought that this was something that, really leaned into the bombastic nature of having a giant megalodon prehistoric shark coming up from the depths and attacking people. But what I did, I think, enjoy the most was that it did kind of live up to its namesake in the most, I guess, the most roundabout way you could, where they do spend a lot of time in the trench. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. So to get into the positives, I enjoyed all the creatures. I thought the additions of not only the megalodons being more of them this time, but the fact that there were, other prehistoric critters in this. You see them in the trailer. There's an octopus and some like lanky dinosaur looking critters that swim and can get up on land. They're all cool. They're all a lot of fun. And the hijinks that they get into are a blast to watch. I mean, you go into this movie for the creatures and the sharks and the action. And I would say for the most part, it pays off with that. It is a good time. They have a lot of great scenarios. There's a couple of really fun shots with all these creatures. One in specific is the megalodon. At one point is eating a large group of people, and you see the people getting eaten from the POV of the Meg's mouth, and it's really cool. I wish these movies were rated R, because like to have that gore and that viscera in that would have been a fucking intense shot. That would have been insane to watch. And I was kind of surprised by that, because this is directed by Ben Wheatley. He's done things like Free Fire and a few other notable films. And, he's kind of always erred on that side of, a little bit harder R with his films. Not necessarily all of them, but, he's always had that kind of that violence, that gore that we kind of expect and want from a film like this. And the fact is, I think that the studios had a lot of influence here, and they really wanted this to be that kind of PG-13 romp so that all the kids and everybody could come and see it. And if that's what they wanted, they succeeded. But I think, as a horror fan, as a shark film fan, I really wanted some more bite to this, no pun intended. But yes, like I said, the trench ends up being a double-edged sword, because they kind of unveil some things that I don't want to spoil for you guys, because I don't think they get too deep into it in the trailer from what I remember. But they get to a certain spot in this where the movie really slows down. And, I think that it holds your interest for a second, but then they kind of really start to rely on our human villains, and they're paper thin and they're just goofy. And, which they don't have to be. I didn't come to the Meg 2 for fantastic, well drawn out characters. I saw the first film. I know what I'm here for. Our only real fleshed out characters are going to be Jason Statham as Jonas, and Mei Ling, the little surrogate daughter that he has. Like we kind of knew that. And they do have another character in here who is the uncle, who's great, and then a few other returning cast members from the crew of the last film that are all fun to see. But, any other character in this film is like, they're cannon fodder, and you kind of know that kind of comes with the territory of these films. And if you watch as many of them as I do, like on the Sci-Fi Channel and shit, you kind of get used to that. You kind of expect that. So I feel like general audiences are really gonna hate that, and they're not gonna like it, because it's kind of, to them, they think they see the human bad guy and they're like, oh, well, they gotta be a little bit more than this. Nah, I'm here to tell you they don't have to be. The sharks are here to eat them, and the other critters are here to dismember them, and that is what you're gonna get. And so, yes, the trench does end up, like I said, being that double-edged sword. And, you do get a really the deep section of this film, again, no pun intended, where it just slows down. And I felt it getting a little bit annoying at that point, where it was just dragging, and I was just like, okay, let's kind of keep it moving here. We haven't seen a megalodon in about 15 minutes. I'd really like to get back to them. They're cool, they're awesome. Again, they're all CG, and there's 3 of them this time, so it kind of gets to that point where it's like, okay, they are stretching their budget. But, for a movie about these fucking megalodons, I want to see them as much as you can give them to me. And I guess they kind of do that, but again, it just felt like that midsection really lacked. But we really pick things back up in the third act. It's a lot of fun there. It's the one section you see in the trailer for the most part where, the octopus is there and the tentacles are shooting up. They're at like a resort nearby where the whole like Trent situation was going by. And basically all of the creatures and our characters, they all kind of converge here, and it just gets wacky as hell. Like, it really does start to lean into the whole Jason Statham's a badass fighting sharks, and you got all our other characters fighting these other monsters, and that is pure popcorn entertainment. And it's fun, it's great to watch. Does it have really any lasting value or effect? I don't know. I'm still pretty fresh off this, but I would say that it's a great time to watch, and it's fun to see on the big screen. But I just think that if these movies aren't really your bag, I don't think you're going to have as much fun with it as I did. I don't think that you're going to have as much enjoyment with it. You might even be irritated by just how, kind of rushed and paper thin this movie is. But that's again the nature of the beast of a shark film, especially a giant megalodon film. So in conclusion, where does that leave us with the Meg 2? I think overall, this is a fun movie. It's a great popcorn flick. It's pretty passable. It's pretty, easily digestible. But I don't really think it does anything different or unique enough to really stand the test of time. I think that the first film was carried by the gimmick and by the whole just nature of Jason Statham versus the shark. And we've kind of seen how limited that whole concept can be. And I think for people like me who are big creature feature fans, this is going to be something you own. Like, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to watch this again and again over the next few years. This will be one that I think is going to be a lot of fun to show my kid when he gets a little older. I think that he's going to probably be like me and enjoy this stuff, because we're already deep into the Jurassic Park stuff. And, it's a shame, because I think that's really what this franchise could have been. I think that we could have had a Jurassic Park level of, a good shark film, good bombastic, big shark film coming out every few years that ups the stakes a little bit. And I think they do that to a degree, but I just don't see a general audience latching onto this. And really, I'm not going to be able to tell fully till the end of the weekend. And, I don't really sit here and think that, the standard, general critics are a good barometer for this film, because of course they're going to shit on it. This is not the general audience's movie. I think how this franchise could have been saved. I think how they could have made this something even more special is, again, by going into the grit of the concept a little bit more, maybe even making these films rated R and gearing them more towards a horror-centric audience. But again, I get it. The studio wants this to be, like I said, that Jurassic Park, but they just don't really land on either side of that. And I think that that's really tough. I think that they want to have their cake and eat it too. And I think that it kind of falls pretty flat in that aspect. So, I think if you were excited for this film, if you were a big fan of creature features, absolutely go see this. This is fun. This is a great popcorn movie. You just go in, don't take it too seriously. Enjoy the shark action. Enjoy the comedy. The characters are all likable. I like all of our main cast. The villains are so forgettable. You never even learn anybody's name. There are some cool scenes with the sharks. There are some cool scenes with the other creatures. And that's about it. I really think, as far as the franchise goes, this is probably the end of the line. We might get a reboot later on down the road, but I would have a hard time seeing this film having the same success of the first. Again, because the trick's already been done once, and I don't think there's anything too unique and too different that's going to pull in general audiences. I think that ship has sailed. And really, you're only going to satisfy people like myself and like my buddy Tim, who went with me, because we like this shit. We like seeing our prehistoric creatures. We like our monster movies. And, by that aspect, this is serviceable. This is fun. This is cool, but it isn't groundbreaking. And yeah, that's really, I guess, where I sit on this. It's kind of perplexing because, I didn't think that the Meg 2 would be this divisive for me. Like I said, I love shark movies. I love big creature features. And so I went into this thinking, I'm going to have a blast. And, for the most part I did, but I just have to be realistic here and say that I think that we could have had something really cool and special here. But I just think that they've kind of dropped the ball a little bit in trying to satisfy too many masters and just not really having a focused vision. And do I want to see a Meg 3? Yes, especially if they go with the concept of the third book, which you should look up. It is pretty neat. But, they've really strayed away from kind of those concepts. So they use the broad strokes, and that's about it. So I don't really know where they'd go with it. I could have probably, for me, I could have seen, 4 or 5 more of these movies. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be the one to, give the studio what they're looking for. Again, the first one made almost $500 million, and I think they're going to expect that every single time. And I think they got to realize that that was lightning in a bottle. And unfortunately, the Meg 2, it's not going to live up to those expectations. But overall, I got to give this movie a 5 out of 5 because they have a direct Jaws 2 call out. And I love Jaws 2. They drop the name Jaws 2, and it is the best scene in the movie, and that makes it perfect. Number 1 movie of the year, 2023. Let's go, Meg 2! Yeah, in all reality, just know yourself, know what you're getting into, and I think if you're there for a great, fun popcorn movie and you love creature features, this is going to be a win. This is going to be fun. But if you really want to go into the Meg looking for anything more than just that, you're going to want to skip this because this is not for you. And I genuinely don't want to hear more people who went into this thinking that it was going to be serious or that it was going to be groundbreaking and just hear them bitch. I'm sick of it. I think people should be smarter than that. They should know what we're looking at. This isn't profound. This is Jason Statham taking oars and making them into spears with bombs on them and throwing them on a jet ski at big sharks. There's nothing profound about that. It's badass, but there's nothing of substance there other than it's cool and I like it. That's going to wrap it up here for me, folks. Yes, this has been a really fun week on the channel. We've got a lot of great stuff in the works, a lot of great news coming through, some things we're trying to work out. And if they do work out, we're going to have a lot of really cool things coming up in the next few months, and I'm excited to share them with you. As far as content goes, we just have so much we have to get out the door. There's stuff I've been sitting on for a little bit that I need to finish. There's things that just showed up on our doorstep that we need to get to you guys as soon as possible. I mean, it's just crazy right now. And one of those things is that we made a horror short film called SYCOPHANT, which was a lot of fun. We took some time off in July to make it. And yeah, we put that into a film festival here in Akron. And yeah, hopefully, cross our fingers, we should find out this week if we made it. If not, no big deal. It still was a great time and a great experience, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. And yeah, we've just been working real hard on it. I'm really satisfied with it. I'm happy with it. It's been a while since we've made anything like this. And you know, I'm really excited for you guys to see what we can do with the horror genre. And other than that, on the channel right now, we got other reviews for things like The Passenger, which was a lot of fun. Luke and I tackled that together, as well as Luke got a chance to check out Till Death Do Us Part, which he seemed to enjoy. He thought, again, that was a lot of fun for him. So definitely check those reviews out. They're up there right now for you guys to see, as well as last week we got to talk about an awesome horror movie called Talk to Me. It's kind of sweeping right now, and I'm so happy to see that. It's great. That is a film I can say without a doubt is fan-fucking-tastic, and you should go see it. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for me, folks. So I guess until next time, I am Dylan Newell, and stay scared.